Hi. We hear that more and more people are leaving churches, either not attending at all or only rarely. While it is true that church attendance numbers are down, what I see in the numbers is not like the floodgates have been opened. More a slow and persistent leak that started around the turn of the 19th to 20th centuries. Weekly attendance has dropped over the past 25 years from about 32% to about 20%. That's pretty notable, but the number of people attending monthly has stayed about the same over the period. So I don't find these trends shocking. In my mind, these trends are well aligned to a companion trend over the past century that we are moving as a culture from a modern to a postmodern philosophical backdrop. Now, philosophies are not templates or models of what most of us are thinking. As you would likely surmise, I believe most of us are simply trying to make ends meet most of the time. That said, I find value in using these somewhat grandiose philosophical tapestries as a guide for what we as a whole are tending to believe and feel about each other, kind of like the notion of generations. Now, you may know that modern philosophy rose out of the Enlightenment in the 17th century and is characterized by trust in human reason, trust in human progress, and trust in objective truths. On the other hand, postmodern philosophy, a product primarily of the wars and holocausts globally of the 19th and 20th centuries, is marked by skepticism, rejection of the concept of objective truth, rejection of grand narratives about human progress, and is focused instead on the complexity and diversity of human experience. Trust in the existence of objective truths, universal and unchanging truths that are true despite who observes them, is one of the great changes we are experiencing as we generally trend to be more and more subjective in determining what is true. Without a universal shared belief in even the concept of objective truths, my fear is we lose a part of our motivation to do things simply because others have done them before. So I see an alignment of the shift in philosophical foundation with the loss of people attending church services regularly and, in fact, in even believing that a God does exist. To me, what is most striking about this trend is that the number of people with no church attendance experience is rising sharply from about 13% in 2000 to over 30% today. What this seems to indicate is that people who are choosing to go to church are choosing not to take their children, which is, for me, mind-boggling. See, for me, a large part of the reason I went to church as a parent was to take my kids to equip them to make their own decision regarding their choice of river of faith, the deist river or the atheist river, when that time came for them. Now, you have made your choices, I hope in an informed way. But it appears that parents who attend church today are increasingly choosing not to equip their kids for the future the way we did. I wonder if, given that they are not equipped to decide whether these kids will even know it is their decision to make. So the trends are that overall, fewer people are attending church, and even fewer people are choosing to take their kids to church. And those who are attending, relatively more and more, are attending non-denominational and self-proclaimed evangelical churches. Now, since about 1995, I have labeled myself as an evangelical. I am one who sees the Bible as the central authority for my understanding of God. I know that my relationship with Jesus is a personal relationship. I accept that my purpose in life includes evangelizing. For me, Christ is the center of worship, and the resurrection is central to Christ. And I know the community of believers, Christ Church, is the presence of Christ on earth today. Now, these are the hallmarks of the traditional definition of an evangelical. But the trend that indicates that these non-denominational evangelicals are not taking their children to church does not fit with these tenets of evangelicalism. Why aren't they taking their children to church? Well, it may indicate that these self-proclaimed non-denominational evangelicals don't see much of a future for their children. This is an important conversation, this potential darkness in the future. We will continue this conversation in our next session. Aloha.